Red Bull GRCs are now available on iRacing. I personally put my blood, sweat, and tears into this thing, developing the cars, the tracks, the dirt, making sure it is authentic as possible, and I really think you guys are going to love it. The best part is that this 600 horsepower Volkswagen Beetle is free to all members. So get signed up now and come race me online.
They say it's always darkest before the dawn. And in the world of motorsports, those words ring especially true. As is tradition, Daytona greets us as we emerge from our winter hibernation. But this year, we awaken 30 years in the past. This time we celebrate a bygone era as drivers take to the unrefined beasts that are the Audi Quattro and Nissan GTP. A new season is about to dawn. The darkness about to fade. The Major Series and Late Apex Apparel proudly bring you the 2018 Classic Daytona 2.4, an endurance race from the ages, for the ages. Coming to you live, iRacing Live, on February 4th, 2018.
Hello everyone and welcome to Jules Online's coverage of the 6th round of the Monday Night V8 Supercars Championship. Tonight takes us to the Autodromo Internazionale Enzo Edino Ferrari, catchy name I know, and that means hard braking zones, tight chicanes and curbs that are considerably larger than Jake Sperry's ego. Joining me once again in the comms box, fresh off a top 5 in the top split Daytona 24, is Zachary Hanlon. Zach, tough track tonight in every aspect. How do you think the drivers will get on?
I think it's one of those tracks, Bo, where you're susceptible to making a lot of mistakes. A lot of the braking areas on this track are very particular and they are very easy to get wrong, especially in these V8s. Having the lock differential at the rear and having no ABS, I think you'll find that you know, we saw a lot of errors last week, even at Circuit de Villeneuve, and I think you'll see a lot more here as well.
Yeah, already drivers on in qualifying at the moment, and already Thomas McMillan ruining his first lap, so he'll go again. So incidents will be a big factor here tonight, as these curbs, they invite you to take just a little bit more for the optimal racing line, but you can often take a little bit too much and find yourself in a whole heap of trouble.
Yeah, definitely one of the things you really got to remember when you're going around this place is just to keep everything nice and smooth. As soon as you get out of that rhythm, as I said before, you're susceptible to making a mistake, and that's where you lose a lot of your time. A lot of these corners around here, you know, you run a tiny little bit wide, and you can lose up to 2 or 3 tenths on a particular corner, and it's really important, obviously, especially in qualifying, to really make sure that you nail every single opportunity.
Yeah, of course, and at the moment, at the top of the timesheets, leading the charge is Dane Warren on a 42.2. We have some incredibly tough competition tonight, including Jared Filsell, Marlon J. McMullen, and also a returning face in Mitch McLeod, who is coming across the line now to finish his first lap. So Mitch McLeod on return to this series, comes across the start-finish line, and he is going to have an invalidated lap. So many drivers at the moment getting caught out by this.
Yeah, not so much for Jared Filsell at the moment. I'm just watching his lap. He's just coming down to the final chicane now. He's been looking pretty good this lap. Doesn't look like he's been taking, he hasn't been look like he's been going too extreme. Just wants to get a lap on the table, but nice and smooth for Filsell so far.
Yep, Jared, of course, doing one of his first races for the year back in the Monday Night Official Series. So good to see him back in the #1 hybrid racing simulations car. And he's not in the championship fight at the moment, but one driver that is going to be Marlon McMullen, who's still at the top of the championship, I believe. And he's currently third at the moment. Had a bit of a rough week last night, so he'll be looking for redemption. But Zach, go through the championship standings and we'll see who our contenders are for tonight.
Yeah, absolutely, Bo. So Marlon, obviously, as you said, in the lead. He has a significant points lead at the moment, obviously sitting there on 829 points. I think that's just because he's done more rounds than everyone else. He's followed up by Brett Loxton, who had a pretty decent result last week as well. Tony Klusterman pulling up P3 on 547 points. We then have Kevin Buhalasa on 541. We have Matt Morris on 540. Brody Myers, 538 points. And the top 10's finished out by Emily Jones, Craig Jones, Greg Sharp, and Thomas Hines.
Yep, so a very hot contender championship at the moment. So we'll be seeing how that plays out over the course of the season. Brady Myers there was mentioned as one of the drivers in that top 10, and he's doing a fantastic job in qualifying. He's done for the night, but a 42.8, and that puts him third on the grid, and he's only the 10th highest iRating driver. We know how much skill there is in the Progression Racing Australia driver, so a fantastic job for him to be only just a 10th behind Jared Filsell, who's only second lap now. But Dane Warren flexes his advantage even more so and finds another 10th. So Dane Warren really pushing the field to try and play catch up here tonight.
Yeah, and Filsell's actually just bailed out of his second lap there. He just locked up the rear brakes coming into the final chicane. I think he might have taken one of the curves a little too aggressively, and he's decided to pull out of that one. So it looks like for the time being, Dane's put in a really nice lap there, and he's looking good for a pole position at the moment.
So we have Thomas McMillan on screen at the moment, stuffed his first lap, but his second lap is going to be a little bit better. He jumps up to position number 10, so McMillan jumping up the order there, thankfully getting his second lap counted. And no mistakes on that one, but he'll be looking to move through the field as well. He, of course, did the race on Friday, the 650 km Enduro. It was very quick there, so he'll be looking to make some passes during the race, and he slots just ahead of Michael Taljancic outside of the top 10. And we've only got a couple more drivers left on laps now. In fact, only Adam Gardner on track at the moment, and he's done his 2 laps as well. So we've still got Stephen Varga on track, the last car, I believe, to complete his lap. So we'll see how he goes into the very tricky final 2 corners, downhill braking zone, so it's not easy to pull this car up and make that inside curve. But Stephen does a fantastic job, goes all the way out to the exit to line up this run down an incredibly long straight. And we bypass the Formula 1 chicane that used to be here. A fantastic corner it was, but now it's just a big run into the Tamburello complex at the start. There will be an improvement for Stephen Varga, but unfortunately position does not change.
Yeah, it looks like we've got a really good grid here tonight. Obviously, Dane's kind of popped everyone there. 6 tenths to pole, which is a very nice, very, very strong start to him. But everyone behind, we've got second through fifth there in a nice little cluster, and all the other cars all the way down through to pretty much 14th, so within a reasonable amount of time with each other. So I think we'll have some really nice battles tonight.
Yeah, hopefully. So Dane Warren will kick things off for the second week in a row on pole position, and a stunning 6/10 of a second over Jared Philsell. So a great performance there from Dane. Brady Myers round out the second row of the grid, just ahead of Marlon McMullen. Luke Harvey for Trans-Tasman Racing has Mitch McLeod alongside him for P number 6. Ross Rizzo and Cooper Webster make up the fourth row of the grid, with Brian Borg and Thomas McMillan rounding out the top 10.
Yeah, then we've got Michael Taliancic in 11th position. We've got Brett Loxton, who's one of our championship contenders, sitting down there in 12th. He'll definitely be looking to improve. We've got the returning Jamie McKnight there in 13th position, and Gary Cooper there rounding out row number 7. Scott Larnack in P15, Craig Jones following him up in P17. Not very far behind him, only 4,000th of a second. Greg Sharp in P18. We've got Adam Gardner in P19, and finishing out the top 10 row, it is Job Stewart in P20, and then we've got Jansen, Morris and Varga just sitting behind them in 21, 22 and 23.
Yep, so 23 V8 supercars ready on the grid of the Italian tarmac here at Imola, and well, it's what you want to call it. Italy, San Marino, it is what it is. But nonetheless, we are on the grid here waiting to get this race underway. Just 20 more seconds for these drivers to get onto the grid and kick off. Plenty of horsepower, and it's green lights, and away they go at the great launch from Dane Warren, who immediately jumps into the lead. But look at Jared Philsell, a fantastic run there, and he's going to cut the inside and could potentially get the advantage early, side by side of the chicane for first and second. The guys behind as well, all fighting it out, and Jared Philsell almost lost it there through the first chicane, but manages to hold it, and they're going to have a drag race. But oh, Warren with a slowdown. So that is the worst possible point to get a slowdown. First lap, he is going to drop down all the way to the back just about. So a disaster there. So it's Philsell from Brady Myers with Marlon McMullen in third, but disaster for Dane Warren. He has lost a bunch of spots. Just trying to look for him on my timing screen. He has to be outside the top 15.
Yeah, he just took a little bit too much into the first part of the chicane when he was coming in side by side with Philsell. I think he just maybe got squeezed a little bit there, but that is a very, very bad thing to happen that early in a race. Later in the race, not such a big deal, but at the very beginning, as you've said, he is all the way down the order, and that is not going to help his day.
No, not at all. So disaster there for Dane Warren, the reigning champion, of course, don't forget. And he's a long way away from Marlon McMullen at the moment, so if he's going to have any chance at a championship fight this year, or this season, sorry, he's going to have to... And Luke Harvey now in trouble. So Luke Harvey dropping back just a little bit, side by side, getting squeezed quite a lot there as he fights for every position he can right now. Around the outside, he's going to have to go, and does manage to hold that position just as the car behind on my screen having a bit of a connection issue as well, so all kinds of stuff happening at the moment.
Yeah, that was Ross Rizzo, I think, Bo, and he's actually in the fence, according to me right now. He's just exited and gone back into the pit, so well, maybe have to have a look at what happened there. Looks like there was a bit of contact and maybe a bit of net code issues there. He was right behind Luke coming into that last corner there. Just tapped him. I think he might have actually gotten a tag from Cooper Webster, who was behind him. I can't really blame him for that because Ross was kind of pinging all over the shop, but it looks like something's happened there, and that sent Ross flying into the wall in pretty spectacular fashion.
Yep, so we're going to go back to the battle for the lead at the moment, and Brady Myers doing a fantastic job staying with Jared Philsell at the moment. Only qualified a 10th behind and showing that his race pace is just as good right now, so Brady Myers doing a really fantastic job at the moment, pulling away from McMullen as well, who has a gap to McLeod as well, so the top three have bunched away just ever so slightly at the moment, so that's good for those guys. And there will be a pit stop in this race like we saw at Montreal, 60% fuel limited for this race, so drivers can afford to just fuel save behind cars a little bit. Maybe that's what Brady Myers will be doing at the moment, but for now Jared Philsell will hold command.
Yeah, just having a look, Dane Warren looks like he's actually been making some good progress coming through the field. He's coming up on a couple of cars here, Brian Borg and Brett Loxton. It looks like he's going to try and go down the inside there. Very nice move.
So we're going to get a CPR kart racing replay of that. So Dane Warren making some fantastic progress at the moment in the number 4 car, and in the space of just 1 lap he's managed to make 5 positions, so he is on a charge for redemption right now. And the car in front of him that will be the next target will be Cooper Webster, so Cooper, look out, because the driver behind you is on a mission.
Yeah, well, Dane had a very convincing qualifying time there. The guys up the front all qualified within a tenth of each other, and they'll know that Dane's coming, so they might not, oh, well, I said they might not want to battle too much, but looks like it is closing up quite a bit here, and maybe a move could be on for Brady here.
Yeah, Brady is really impressing at the moment, and Phil Sauer not looking as confident as he has in previous races. Of course, the V8 Sculpts champion for 2017, and are really looking to push in his form into 2018 as well. But right now, it's Brady Myers that's doing the pushing and is really attacking the back of the Trans-Tasman Racing Commodore. So Brady Myers with Progression Racing Australia at the moment, who of course have some new sponsorship on their cars, so a fantastic signing for them guys. Trading Paint's not particularly working for me right now, but I believe it was Raystar sponsorship for those guys. So Progression Racing Australia is starting to make moves in the Australian sim racing market, which is fantastic to see. And right now, Brady Myers really leading that charge. But what they are doing is slowly allowing McMullen to close in ever so slightly. And he still holds a good gap over McLeod behind. And sadly for McLeod, he has no breathing room behind at all, as Luke Harvey is getting very racy, and he's bringing along Cooper Webster and also Dane Warren, who is just making huge amounts of ground right now. That gap was a second at the start-finish line, and is about half of that now.
Yeah, I was just going to make some mention on that there, Bo. Dane's been closing up very well. And I think it would probably be a good idea for Brady, Jared, and Marlon up at the front to just kind of keep on rolling away and just plug in some solid laps there, because Dane is coming hard, and if his pace advantage is equal to what he had in qualifying in some fresh air, then these guys are going to be in real trouble, because he's only 4.2 seconds behind now. He took 8/10 out of that chunk to the lead in that 1 lap.
Yep,
and that is the fastest lap of the race, so that's very positive looking for Dane. Obviously, the big issue for him is going to be getting past this little gaggle of cars ahead of him. There are some very strong drivers in there, so they're not going to make it easy for him, I know.
Well, passing will always be one thing, apart from catching, but for Dane Warren, it might not be a huge issue. That was some 8/10 of a second quicker than Jared Filzell, our race leader last time around. So Dane Warren has pace to spare right now. And I don't think it'll be too long until Cooper Webster has to throw up the white flag for Dane Warren. Right now, it's just closing in at a rapid rate of knots, and it wouldn't be a complete shock to see Dane Warren ahead of Webster at the end of this lap. As you can see visually, under every braking zone, every turn, and every acceleration point, Dane Warren is just closing rapidly. Look at that! So the Aqua Minerale right-hander there, he's just closing so quickly, and look for a move happen the next chicane, so we'll see what Dane Warren can do. But in the meantime, we're going to get a CPR kart racing replay of Brett Loxton's second in the championship, and he's had a very rough night at the moment, down in last at the moment, and that's of course due to the mistake you are going to see on the replay. So unfortunate for Brett, but he'll keep running around and keep trying to make progress, as Dane Warren doesn't quite make the move just yet, but this move is going to be on well and truly into turn number 1. So we'll see if he can do anything in the slipstream on the back of the Performance Sim Sports car there of Cooper Webster. So much more straight line speed. Look at that, Cooper Webster just pulling to the side just a little bit. I don't think he's going to fight this too hard, but he's holding the position for now. But braking superiority is in the favour of Dane Warren. Job done. Next target on the list is going to be
Exactly. Dane got very sideways just finishing off that overtake there. That was very nice to see. I think Cooper probably realised that it's probably just safer for him at this stage to just kind of let the time go and just follow Dane, because he's going to overtake other cars and opportunities might open up for him then. So he's just going to follow Dane through at this stage, I think, and just see if he can pluck away at the guys ahead of him, following him through.
Yep, and also potentially save a little bit of fuel behind Dane Warren at the moment too. So for Cooper Webster, probably a smart call at this stage of the race. No, he won't be fighting Dane Warren for overall positions just yet at this stage of the race. So let him go and try and follow him through past Luke Harvey when Dane does inevitably catch him, because Warren's showing some fantastic pace at the moment, and Luke Harvey not finding an easy way around Mitch McLeod at the moment either. So Mitch on his return to the Monday Night Official Series, doing a fantastic job to hold down position number 4 just behind the top 3 guys. Jared Philcell out to a 1.1 second lead now, and actually there's a slowdown there for someone. It's Dane Warren. So Dane Warren loses that position he just gained on that lap and has to do it all over again. And that's unfortunate for Webster too. He lost ground to the cars he was fighting to let Warren through, and now Webster's lost that draft to Harvey as well. So that's one of the downsides to letting a driver through easily, is if they make a mistake, you've got a lot of work to do to catch the cars that were originally fighting.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a very unfortunate little incident there for Dane. That's going to set him back dramatically. He's actually lost about 3.5 seconds off that entire transaction. So he's really going to have to watch out, because he's not going to be able to recuperate as much time when he's working his way back through those cars. So I think he just needs to keep it clean and keep on pushing, and he'll be good. But we've got some other good battles happening throughout the field at the moment, Bo. One of those is between Michael Taliancic and Thomas McMillan. Is Taliancic just having a little bit of a look up the inside, and it just unsettles him a little bit, and he's just going to slide up there. They're going to have a drag race up to the next left-hander here. Very high-speed corner. Who's going to break latest? I think Michael's got the superior line here. They go side by side. Well, I got to say, Thomas has held it very nicely on the outside there, and that's going to give him the advantage into the next complex of right-handers. But Michael's staying right there on the outside, but at the last moment, he's going to pull back in and dive under as McMillan just runs a little bit wide there. Nice little battle here. But I think Taliancic has got that one secured for the time being as they come up into the chicane. Very nice little battle there, and nice move by Michael.
Yeah, that was a very nice little move, just to allow McMillan to slide a little bit too deep there into the Aqua Minerale complex and dive onto the inside of him when that happens. But McMillan's not quite done yet. They're getting very aggressive into the final two corners of the Imola circuit. So McMillan will try and fight this one. Taliancic might have a bit more pace at the moment, but McMillan isn't going to let this one go easily, so we'll see what he can do in the slipstream down this long front straight. Taliancic knows that, tries to break the draft just a little bit. McMillan has so much more overspeed at the moment, so we'll see if he does anything under brakes. Closing, dives to the inside for the Tamburello chicane, and up the inside as easy as you like for Thomas McMillan. Taliancic had nothing to respond to that, and McMillan tries to pull a bit of a gap, but burst into wheel spin. We've seen that a few times over this last lap. McMillan can't get the power down as nice as Taliancic, who dives to the inside, forces his way through, absolutely no holds bars, and he will redress that position as McMillan had to dive through the chicane there. So Taliancic playing very, very forcefully against McMillan, so clearly thinks he's faster right now, but can't find a way to do it. But this could be his opportunity right now, heading towards the very fast Tosa corner, side by side, uphill, through the kink, round number 2, ding, ding, ding. Who's going to do it? And McMillan once again holding it around the outside, not making life easy on Taliancic. McMillan saw this happen last lap, knows what to do now, brakes a bit earlier, but he brakes almost too early, and almost give Taliancic the run around the outside. These guys are going to hold it for the 5th or 6th corner consecutively, but Taliancic finally gets the overlap, gets past, and if he can hook up a good run through this chicane, he will be able to pull that advantage away, hopefully. And nice run there. And fantastic bit of racing there, but it's not the only bit of racing that's happening on circuit right now, as Brady Myers and Marlon McMullen now going door to door, and neither of them are going to have a slipstream down this front straight. So this is all raw horsepower. This is Performance Sim Sports versus Progression Racing Australia, and it is the PRA car that's going to have the advantage for now, if he doesn't disconnect. A bit of stuttering on my screen at least, but McMullen there trying to go around the outside into the Tamburello chicane, doesn't get the job done, so he has to stick behind Brady Myers for another lap unless he can do something into this next chicane, which we saw Taliancic do, albeit a little bit forcefully.
It looked like to me that McMullen pulled out a little bit early there. I think he might be a bit unsettled by the way that Brady's car is reacting at the moment. I know that I would be in the same scenario. He may just be weighing up whether or not now's a good time to overtake, given Brady's having a couple of ping issues. By the look of it, he might just wait until the car stays solid for a little bit before he tries something else, because there's nothing worse than, you know, just going through a corner and then all of a sudden there's another car inside you and one of you guys being either side of the circuit. So he might just chill out for the time being and just see if he can get Brady on a decent connection enough to make a confident pass.
Yep, that would be the smart idea to do for McMullen. So just sitting behind just for now and letting Brady Myers do the work and cutting through the air. But these guys back for position number 9 do not want to give up as McMillan and Talyancic continue to scrap it out. These guys are not letting anything go. This has been a fantastic fight between these guys. Talyancic still holding the advantage. But McMillan, that you can see, just moving a little bit under brakes, just letting Talyancic know he's there. And a fantastic run out of the chicane there for McMillan. And we'll see if he has enough of a draft now into the downhill braking zone of the double left-handers to finish the lap. We'll see if he does anything under brakes, and indeed he just has a little bit of a look there, thinking about a move and just letting Talyancic know that he's not going to stay behind him for much longer and that he wants to race him. So it all comes down to this run on the front straight. Talyancic immediately trying to block the slipstream advantage for McMillan. So McMillan not even electing to take the draft, really, just kind of comfortable staying behind Talyancic. So maybe not a move on this lap, but McMillan definitely wants to fight this and is not content to just sit behind.
No, I think he was a bit far back there, but these guys have been having a pretty good scrap. Sometimes when cars are coming across and weaving across the track, it is more suitable just to take your optimized line that you've been taking before, because you're not actually going to gain the advantage of you know, weaving over the track like that, and the car ahead is actually going to lose time if they're going the same pace as you. So pretty smart maneuver there by Thomas, but these guys have been having a fantastic battle the last couple of laps. Really great being able to see two cars go side by side for 6 or even 7 corners.
Yeah, it's been really good to see from these guys. Talyancic with a little bit of an advantage at the moment, so that's good for him, not good for McMillan. But another driver that is moving up the order just a little bit more is Dane Warren. He's got past Cooper Webster once again, and that gap to Luke Harvey is coming down lap by lap, just ever so slowly. Well, I say slowly, last time around 7/10 of a second faster. So Dane Warren with a point to prove in this race, and it won't be much longer until he is in the draft of the Trans-Tasman racing car. And that fight goes all the way up to second place as Brady Myers still holding that second place. Lost the advantage to Jared Filsell, but still holds the place over Marlon McMullen. So McMullen almost faking to the pit lane there. These drivers do have a pit stop to take tonight. And McMullen perhaps trying to force the hand off McLeod or Harvey behind. But you can already see Dane Warren, you can already include him as a part of this pack.
Yeah, well, Brady and Marlon have really been hemorrhaging time here to Bilsell ahead of them. They're now 5 seconds behind Bilsell, which is very good for him, and Dane is realistically only lapping at a couple of tenths faster than Jared's pace at this stage, and he has, what, 4 cars to get past as well. So I think the time's starting to run out for Dane Warren, and if he really wants to make a move for the win of this race, he has to get through these guys as quickly as he possibly can.
Yep, for sure. Of course, still 17 laps to go in this race, and just 4 cars to get past for Dane Warren, but that 5 seconds will not be an easy feat ahead of Jared Filsell. So we'll see if Dane Warren can do anything with that, but until he gets past this car of Luke Harvey, who is no slouch at all, it's not going to be easy for Dane Warren to make that time up. So we'll see what he can do in the next few laps, but for now Brady Myers is still holding the advantage in this pack, and running some strange lines out of the Aqua Minerale corner all the way to the right.
Yeah, he was getting very, very loose there, I think. Maybe just picked up a bit of wheel spin in a higher gear there and got sent out way sideways. But he's keeping some pretty consistent pace here, but I don't think it's going to be enough to ward off everyone behind him. I think he just needs to get his pick up his speed a little bit. Otherwise, I fear that guys like McMullen, McLeod, you know, all these guys here, McMullen, McLeod, Harvey, Warren, these are all very fast guys, and a couple of them probably want to start getting a move on soon. So I think if Brady doesn't pick up his pace soon, he's going to be in a bit of trouble.
Yeah, absolutely. So Brady needs to try and find something a little extra around this Imola circuit. A very tough track to drive, just lapping around by yourself. So to try and find an extra 10th or 2 when you have someone like McMullen or Mitchell McLeod right on your back bumper is no easy feat at all. So we'll have to wait and see if Brady can indeed find that extra level and make some time up at the moment and gap those cars behind, which is not happening at the moment. I'm just keeping an eye on Warren and Harvey. These two are the closest they've been in quite some time, and you can see Warren there positioning his car a little bit differently to the Trans-Tasman racing car. He wants any kind of advantage he can get, tries to get on the power early, runs onto the AstroTurf just a little bit and hurts his exit. Dane Warren is trying any overtaking opportunity to get past the Luke Harvey Trans-Tasman racing car. So he's not going to just wait for an easy overtake. If he has any kind of opportunity, he's going to take it with both hands and run.
Yeah, I think that could be the case. I think he is starting to get, you can just tell by the way that he's driving the car, he's really pushing to get past here. And, you know, even this is not a good overtaking zone, but he was just putting the nose up in there, maybe just to say to Harvey, you know, mate, we got to do this transaction. I've got to get a move on. So I think he kind of wants Luke to decide when it's going to happen, but I don't think Luke's the kind of guy who's just going to move over and go, oh, there you go, bud, you just waltz on through. So I think Dane's really going to have to, he's got a good opportunity here actually. He's very close to the back of Luke's car and he's gotten a decent run out of there, and he's going to have probably 4 cars worth of slipstreams, as we just saw McMullen peel off into the pits there. So he's the first of the leading pack to try a different strategy, maybe do a bit of an undercut, as Warren very close to the back of Harvey now, but brakes a little bit early, decided he's not close enough to really make an attempt on that one. But interesting to see that McMullen was the first one to break out of those guys. He obviously wants to, I think, put that move on Brady in a place which is going to feel most comfortable, which seems like it could be in the pit.
Yep, smart way to do it. If you're not feeling confident to do it on track, try and do something a little bit different. And Dane Warren gets the job done on Luke Harvey into the hairpin, but it's not done just yet, as Luke Harvey gets a really nice run there out of the hairpin, and he's going to have a lot more speed up this hill, carry the momentum. He's going to have to do it around the outside, and he is not filling up to it today. So let's Dane Warren go for now. But now for Luke Harvey, plenty of pace in the car. He could do a little bit of fuel saving himself, and when the pit stops come around, he could potentially find his way past McLeod or Brady Myers, but he's not going to do it with that kind of line into the Aqua Minerale corner. That was a huge moment for Luke Harvey, and somehow holds it.
Just looking at Marlon, just as he's come out of the pits, he's got a really nice bit of clean track in front of him, so that's very positive for him. He's just going to be able to knuckle down, put in some really fast times, and you know, on fresh tyres, he definitely has that potential to overlap Brady. So it'll be interesting to see if any of the guys come in the next lap or two and start making those pits, as the guys are coming around to that area now.
Yep, we'll see if anyone dives in, and indeed they will, as Mitch McLeod is the one to dive in, and Luke Harvey joins as well. So those two dive into the pits, which leaves Brady Myers and Dane Warren in clean air. So those two, who both need to get a bit more pace out of their cars right now, have the perfect opportunity to do so, both in clean air for now, and will have the chance to put in the fastest lap times they can possibly muster at this point in the race, as the other drivers such as Brian Borg and Thomas McMillan also dive into the pits. So a lot of guys are liking lap 13 as their chance to dive into the pits.
Well, it is the halfway point, so it's pretty safe, you know how the tyres are going to be at the end of your next stint, which is good. But I'm honestly pretty surprised that Dane wasn't the one to make the jump before everyone else. I mean, realistically, he kind of has the most to win and to lose in this situation. I really thought jumping in that clean air and putting in some really fastest laps. I mean, he does have the fastest lap of the race, and I have no doubt that he'd be able to equal that on a fresh set of tyres. So it'll be interesting to see when Dane decides to come in, and be interesting to see as well if his pace is still good compared to the guys who come out on fresh tyres, because he could, if the other cars, Mitchell and Luke, are still good on new tyres, they could easily come back out ahead of Dane if he doesn't pit soon enough.
Yep, and there's also the strategy call of if you take tyres at all. Of course, tyres are done a lot quicker in a V8 Supercar than something like a V8 than a GT3 car, but they still take an extra 7 or 8 seconds to get all 4 tyres on. So for Dane Warren, if he is trying to make some easy moves, that could be a ploy as well, just to make some easy positions. And anyway, we do have one of the more driver in the pit lane, which is our race leader, and he's going to be joined by Brady Myers as well, and Dane Warren. So everyone now taking the opportunity to dive into the pit, so maybe running out of fuel already. But I thought if Dane Warren could have potentially stayed in clean air for a few more laps, that would have been a big advantage, but clearly could not do it on fuel. Cooper Webster also joining in the pits. Taliancic, as we saw at Montreal, he likes to leave it extremely late to do his pit stops. He's going to be the first car to go all the way around and not take a pit stop on lap 13. So he's going to take the race lead for now. But we have to keep our eyes on the likes of Warren and Harvey, and see where those guys are already joining. They're still on the back straight, heading towards the final 2 corners, and Dane Warren is still sat there in pit lane, not moving. So we'll have to see what happens. And it's going to be Phil Sell, of course, out first. He'll take the race lead comfortably. Brady Myers leaves the pits, and now Dane Warren. So where are McLeod and Harvey? Just on the front straight now. We'll see how the rejoin goes. It's an incredibly long pit lane here at Imola, but already Brady Myers out of the pits, but he's going to get jumped by McMullen, so that is advantage lost for Myers, so advantage to McMullen there. And Dane Warren is going to be stuck behind Mitchell McLeod as well, so Warren made no positions at all in that pit stop phase, but McMullen was the big beneficiary there by being the first car to pit.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying, you know, about Dane. He really should have probably jumped the gun when McMullen did, and you know, that fresh air has obviously done good work for him. Doesn't have a huge lead over Brady, but you know, it's the second and he was behind him previously, so I think Dane probably missed an opportunity there to pass 2 or 3 cars without actually having to do anything on track, but we'll see if he's able to recuperate and get past these guys ahead of him, but I think the win is looking slightly out of reach now.
Yeah, with the pace Jared Philsell is chucking down at the moment, he is in a class of his own just about. Even Dane Warren not matching him in the last few laps. So Dane Warren, maybe the second place is the best he can possibly get in today's race, but with Marlon McMullen now up the order into second place and with very good pace himself, second place could very soon start to become a bit out of reach for Warren as well. So if Warren is going to get a high placing here today, well, of course he missed the first few rounds of this championship, so he's a lot further down than we would normally expect from Dane Warren. He has to get some moves done quick, and he's closing in the back of Mitchell McLeod right now, but this is go time for Dane Warren. If he can't make a move stick now, this could be a potential big loss for him in the championship.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. He did get a very nice run out of that last corner though, following McLeod here, but Extreme Effect is not super fantastic in these V8s. It's not bad, but there aren't a lot of aero on these V8s, so they don't, you know, the benefits compared to a GT3 car, which are very aero dependent, they're not as significant, especially on a relatively short straight. So he's going to have to make that pass in the twisty area, and he's looking like he is very strong at this stage. He's right on the back of McLeod there as they come up to their hairpin here. Wouldn't be surprised just to see him show the nose or something like that, but he's going to take as nice of a line as he can and focus on getting a nice exit. He does get a little squirrely though compared to McLeod, so not looking very good for Warren at this stage, but see if he can bring it back.
Yeah, there are some big overtaking opportunities here at Imola, but it's also very easy to defend through the midsection of the lap, which they're going through now. And McLeod just has to place his car on the apexes. Doesn't matter how quick he's going, just place the car on the apexes, and there's pretty much nothing Dane Warren can do. So for Dane Warren, he just has to stick behind McLeod and kind of deal with it at the moment. But if Warren can hook up a good exit out of the chicane, which he does, a very nice exit. In fact, these two are closing in on Brady Myers as well. So Brady Myers about to make this a 3-car battle pack at the moment for position number, effective position number 3, as we still wait for Taliantic to pit, who is stopped on circuit, Jay. So has Taliantic gone a lap too long and run out of fuel?
I might just have a look at that. It does look like he's...
Yeah, he's in the pits now, so Taliantic is out of the race.
Yeah, I couldn't hear the car sputtering at all there, but he has just pulled off to the inside of turn number 2 there, or turn 3 rather, and yeah, he's just exited straight back to the pits. So I didn't realize that he would have any fuel left after that big battle that he was having with McMillan earlier. Seems like he just ran the tank a little too long.
Oh, McLeod and Warren. We'll see how these guys go. Warren almost threw it up the inside into the second chicane there. McLeod missed the apex by a mile, and he's going to have a dive now into the hairpin. Lots later on the brakes. McLeod leaves the door wide open. Go through, my sir. Lead the way, and Dane Warren now into position number 4 and free to attack. Progression Racing Australia car of Brady Myers just in front, who is still losing ground to McMullen in front. So Brady Myers now under a lot of threat as Dane Warren is on a charge.
Yeah, but he is losing time to Philsell at the head of the race as well by half a second that lap, and that's obviously probably largely attributed to the traffic that he has in front of him. But as you were saying before, Bo, if these guys keep it on the apex, there's not much that you can really do about passing unless you get a particularly good run, a lot of the passing opportunities at Imola are due to the fact that it's so easy to make a mistake, and it's capitalising on those mistakes that other people are making. But the guys have been driving very, very well tonight. No one's really made any too outrageous mistakes like we saw last week. Dane obviously had a couple of slowdowns, but compared to last week where we saw, you know, 4 or 5 guys getting a couple of slowdowns in a single race, these guys have been doing very well. But he's closing right up on the back of Brady Myers here. He's actually got a very good exit comparatively, and it looks like he's going to go for a move around the outside here. That's not a bad choice because you have the inside line for the next corner, just sticking it out, but he's just going to cut back in as Brady starts, at least for me, he starts cutting in and out again. So, and he's lost a lot of time, Dane, on the exit of that corner too. So a little bit of work to do to catch back up to Brady, but it's obviously very telling that Dane does have the pace here to catch back up to Brady and put a good move on him.
Yep, so Dane Warren going to have to find a way past soon. And it's going to be very difficult for him to get this race win now, as Jared Filsell 7 seconds ahead now, and even Marlon McMullen not quite matching him for lap times at the moment. So Filsell in a class of his own, and I think second place is the best Warren can possibly achieve. But Filsell had his first little bit of bad news all race. Apparently he did get his first incident point for the race, so that's a terrible...
He might lose his pro license off that, yeah.
Might as well just retire the car, give up. It's not worth continuing with an incident, but comfortably ahead at the moment, doing a great job. And Brady Myers not looking comfortable out of the Aqua Minerale complex, so Dane Warren should be able to get a run very, very soon if he can not light the tyres up out of slow corners like he's done there. So we'll have to wait a few more corners to get past Brady Myers, but I was very surprised at the straight line speed difference between the All-Star Motorsports car and the Progression Racing Australia car, as that PRA car clearly has a lot of drag on it, maybe running on very high wing, and with how close Dane Warren is right now, this should be a slam dunk into turn 1, unless Brady Myers can do something incredible on the brakes. So we'll see how it goes. Brady Myers must be maximising every gear shift right now, making sure he gets the perfect RPM to hold back Dane Warren, who's going to have to go the long way once again, hard on the brakes. And Brady Myers not making life easy at all for Dane Warren. He may be considerably faster on track, but he does have to find a way around, and Brady Myers is well within his rights to park the car where he wants when he is in front. So Brady Myers with a fantastic display of defensive driving right now. And Dane Warren, the red mist, might be descending a little bit slightly. As you can see there, he's just getting a bit more aggressive now, just making a few more mistakes. And he's getting very, very anxious to get past his bright orange car in front.
Yeah, it looked like he locked the rear brakes just coming through that set of corners earlier, and that really caused him to perch the nose into the corner quite aggressively. And that's one of the sections of the track where you can hemorrhage a lot of time just by being slightly out of sync with your flow of the racetrack. So, but he's definitely, you can see he's got good front end grip in that car, and the car is working when he's not pushing too hard. It is working the way he wants it to. So I think, as you said, Bo, the red mist might be descending a little bit. He might feel everything's getting away from him too much at this point. He might just go, I need to do it now, as he gets a little squirrely coming out of the exit there as well. But if he can just keep his head cool, I mean, he's obviously got a fast car here, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him, these guys will probably go too wide into turn 1 for the next couple of laps. That would not surprise me at all, because the way that he's setting the car up here is he gets another really, really nice exit. But you can make that round the outside move work. You just have to be very committed, and you have to be very confident under brakes, and I just don't feel that Dane is feeling that at the moment. As Brady covers the inside again, going to force Dane to go round the outside, and again, he's just going to brake it a little late there, a bit early, pardon me, and just follow in suit. So I wouldn't be surprised if you saw this kind of back and forthing between these two guys for the next couple of laps.
I think the issue for Dane Warren right now is he knows he's got a fast car. He knows he's half a second a lap when he puts it all together quicker than Marlon McMullen. But with the laps counting down to just 8 laps to go in this race. And Warren knows that if he can't get past Myers soon, any chance of second place is gone. And you can see just out of shot, McMullen just a few seconds up the road. And Warren can see McMullen down every straight, through every apex of the corner. He can see second place right there. The problem is that bright orange car of Brady Myers just not moving out of the way at all. and not making life easy as Warren so much later on the brakes there into Aqua Minerale and actually compromises his exit just a little bit. And this is a section of track that Warren cannot afford to be compromising any corners. He has to not go for overtakes here, just stay close to the back of Brady Myers, so that when he does get through the final corner, he's close enough to finally get a move, get the slipstream done early, and get the overlap done early, and get to the inside of the track, because Brady Myers will defend the inside for every single corner, and Warren having a look there into the final hard braking zone of the lap and could not do it once again. It's another good exit. Actually, it's a little bit of oversteer on this lap, so this could be the move already done for Brady Myers. Doesn't even have to defend as hard as he has done in previous laps. So Dane Warren, if the red mist hadn't descended before, it well and truly has now.
Yeah, I think the most critical point of this whole maneuver for Dane is actually coming out of the chicane towards the end of the lap. He's been spinning up the tyres pretty consistently the last 3 or 4 laps there, and as Brady has to go very defensive there as he gets a poor run, and that's going to allow Dane to go around the outside and on the inside for the next corner, but he also cooks it, and he's lost it! Luckily, he's managed not to hit the wall, but that is Dane Warren. Game over for 2nd place, game over for 5th place, game over for a lot of places there. He's dropped, he's just ahead of Greg Sharp and between Brian Borg, so that would put him in 8th position now. He's just gone down to.
Yep, so 8th position, and you can see how long it took him to even bother resetting the car. He just kind of sat there for a couple of moments, probably furious with himself, just letting a little bit of rage out potentially, and then deciding to get on with it. But position number 8, and he's 4 seconds behind Brian Borg at the moment. So for Dane Warren, a case of what could have been with McMullen, who's leading the championship by a considerable amount already, albeit with a lot more drop rounds at play. McMullen could perhaps get one over on Warren here and really begin to stamp his authority for redemption after last season's championship.
Yeah, I'm just having a quick look back at that incident with Dane Warren and Brady Myers there. I think that's one of those things that just happens during racing. It looks like there could have been a tiny bit of contact there, but Dane was coming in on a very acute angle, and you know, Brady had to turn it eventually to make the corner, so I think Dane just lost out in that situation there. A bit unfortunate, but that's the way racing is a lot of the time.
Well, because those guys were going side by side through the Variante Alta chicane at the start of the lap, it slowed them both down quite a lot. And if you look at the battle for position number 3 right now, Mitchell McLeod on his return to the Monday Night V8 Supercar Official Series isn't far behind at all. So Mitch McLeod just letting those two burn those tyres up just a little bit with all the defensive moves they're having to do. He's got the chance with just 6 laps to go to potentially nab a podium away.
Yeah, and Mitch has been putting in some really nice times, you know, very comparable to what Brady and what they've been doing prior to this. So I think, and Mitchell's no slouch. I've seen him race a lot. He does some really good work, so I wouldn't be surprised if he could latch up onto the back of Brady here. You know, he's seen the battle going, maybe thinking Brady's a bit shaken up about it, and he's on the hunt, you can see. But he's doing really well. He's not spinning up the tyres. He's just keeping it nice and smooth, and we'll see if we can get up on the back of Brady anytime soon. And he is closing in very well under brakes on that corner there.
Yeah, we know with the iRacing tyre model, it really rewards drivers that are smooth, don't overheat the tyres at all. And whilst those two, Myers and Dane Warren, have been fighting tooth and nail against one another, McLeod's just been so smooth, just doing his own lines, running what he wants. And I think that's coming back into play here. He's really got the tyres saved, whereas Myers is using a bit of used rubber at the moment. He doesn't quite have the same performance available that the talking car does, so we'll have to keep an eye on those two as they continue to scrap out. And McLeod well and truly in the draft range now, so he's going to get even more lap time advantage. And last time around, it was actually 1/10 of a second in the favour of McLeod, so he's got the pace to do it, but does he have the pace to do what Dane Warren couldn't and find a way past?
Well, I think he might have the tyres to do it, but as far as having the pace, I think that's something we'll probably have to find out in how many laps do we have to go? The next 5 laps, I think.
Yep, it'll be a question we'll have to answer, so it'll be interesting to see what happens there. Just for a quick note as well, Michael Taliancic is back on track and running around, so whatever that issue was, it wasn't permanent for him. and he's just running around to collect whatever points he possibly can, which is always good to see. We don't like drivers who throw in the towel and just give up for the night after one technical issue or so. Get back on their feet and complete the race. So fantastic to see from Taliancic there, who's down at a lonely 21st, but will be classified as a finisher. Sorry, can't get my English right. But for Brady Myers at the moment, still managing to hold off McLeod, but with just under 5 laps to go now, that gap is not comfortable at all.
No, definitely not. I think Marlon has been putting in some pretty good lap times as well. He's currently doing 43.7s, which is only 0.2 a lap off what Phil Seller's doing at the moment on a 43.5. And Brady and Mitchell are doing 44.1s, 44.0s, with Mitchell being slightly quicker out of the two. So I don't think they're going to be applying any pressure. I don't think there's going to be any changes between first and second, but third and fourth definitely could see a change. A lot of the packs as well, there have been a couple little packs which we haven't been covering during the race, which have been happening. So sorry to you boys, kind of further down the back. I was watching you and there was some good racing, but everything does seem to have calmed down kind of throughout the field at the moment. All the cars are, you know, about a 2-second gap minimum between each other at the moment, with the exception of this battle for third and fourth, which is probably why we've been watching it so much. But yeah, a lot of drivers here probably not doing as well as they would have liked to. Scott Larnack plugging away nicely there down in P12, which I think is a bit of an improvement over what he had last week, obviously running out of fuel at the very end of the race in a very nail-biting finish there. But Brett Loxton's also continued driving as well, and he's sitting just ahead of Michael Taliancic. And it is a good point that you bring up never giving up and moving on, Bo, because you know you never know what might happen. I mean, 5 of these guys could drop out of the race in the next couple laps. I know, you know, I did a league race a long time ago. I got a disconnect right at the halfway mark of a 60-minute race, and I jumped back in and I ended up coming third. So, you know, it's not out of the realms of impossibility to still pick up a good result even if you have an issue like that.
Yeah, absolutely, and Brett Loxton is doing just that, of course. He is down in 20th at the moment, but is actually catching on Adam Gardner just in front of him by half a second a lap. So for Loxton, if he continues at that rate, he will indeed get onto the back of Gardner very, very soon. And we'll see if he can actually get a move as well. But for the rest of the field, like you said, all very spread out at the moment. Everyone's in their own little pack and just running their own laps and doing what they can. So it'll be interesting to see if anyone can make any late race moves and catch up on the car in front. As the like of Braden Bateman, who was 0.7 of a second quicker than the car in front in the last lap, but just couldn't quite, it's still quite a large gap with 3 laps to go. So plenty of battle packs that could form, but we'll have to wait out and see if they do in fact happen. As McMillan now is all over the back of Job Stewart for position number 15. So McMillan, who must have had some kind of issue along the way, of course, was running up the order a lot earlier, and we've actually just seen these pitted twice for some reason, as has Brett Loxton as well. So those guys, perhaps a little bit of a blunder on fuel perhaps, and that's why those guys are down the order. But that's a little bit ironic, as we do believe Taliancic had some kind of issue before his pit stop, who was fighting with McMillan. So those two, perhaps in their battle to beat one another, both went over the limits just a little bit. But for now, it's going to be Thomas McMillan trying to get a run on Job Stewart. But Job a little bit too far ahead on this lap at the moment, and there will be no way through into turn number 1.
Yeah, McMillan actually had a very big moment through the double right-hander towards the end of the lap when you come uphill. He got very loose midway through the corner and pretty much did a quarter spin, and then came back on the track, got one wheel on the AstroTurf as he was trying to accelerate away and spun it up really badly, and that's what allowed Stewart to get ahead of him here. But so an unfortunate mistake for Tom, but he's closed up nicely right now on Job and is applying the pressure. This is a nice area of the track to kind of start setting up your moves towards the end of the lap, or if you really push someone out wide here, you might be able to get a good dive on the inside here, and he's definitely poking the nose, just trying to unsettle Job a bit there, maybe for this corner, which is the corner he made a mistake at on the other lap. And he's going to keep applying that pressure, stick right on the back of Job's car as they come into the chicane here, but the chicane is definitely not a place that you want you want to make a move on. If anything, you kind of want to sit back and get a good run through it so that you can possibly chuck it up the inside here. And he's got a good run. He does have a lot of straight line speed. This guy just tries to creep it up the inside there, which is not the choice I would have made. But Job has blocked the rear brakes and gone a little bit wide, but he's managing to hold it around the outside for the moment. Both of them get a pretty shabby exit, but I think that Thomas is going to be able to make a move on him here as he dives to the outside, which will of course give him the inside line to the first corner. Very nice drag race here. And we've actually got Craig Jones is tagged up on the back of these guys as well. And Craig's going to fire it down the inside. Can he get both of them? He can't. But he has gotten McMillan there. And McMillan's lost out on that pretty badly. Very nice opportunistic move there from Craig. Seeing the two guys battling ahead of him as he just gets a bit squirrely coming out of the exit. So now Craig's going to have to catch back up to Job. And with only a lap and a half left, Job could very well hold on to that position if he can withstand the pressure. And Craig has lost the brakes massively. Very good job keeping that one on track, but that is a big mistake, and McMillan is going to make it through. So McMillan now is going to have to make the charge to Job. I'm just going to quickly go and check on that battle up the front of the pack as well. Just check in on those guys. Looks like Mitchell is still very close to the back of Brady, but hasn't been able to put, still hasn't been able to put a move on him, get close enough yet. So this battle for 15th is definitely turning up a little more than I anticipated.
Yeah,
and Job's actually had to cut the chicane. He's locked up the rears. So as I said, if he can withhold the pressure, he can get away with it, but he's cleared it. McMillan.
And now McMillan and Jones are almost side by side. Don't go 3 wide into here, boys. We're going to go side by side anyway. It's going to be Job on the inside of McMillan. He dives down the inside to hold his place. Gets away with the slowdown just about, but Jones going to be opportunistic. Diving up the inside. Gets past McMillan, or does he? Drag race V2. Who does Job want to give the slipstream to? They're going to bang doors down the front straight. 1 lap to go. White flag for these guys. Jared Filsell pretty much coming down to the checkered flag himself, but right now, Jones and McMillan, round number 2, down into turn number 1. Who's going to be brave on the brakes? It's going to be McMillan just, but Jones on the inside holds it there. McMillan around the outside gets the job done, and he's going to hold the place as Jared Filsell rounds the final corner, and it was a dominant win in the end by 10 seconds ahead of Marlon McMullen there. So for Jared Filsell, it's a victory here at Imola, round number 6. But McMullen will come home second, and Brady Myers will hold that 3rd place, just slightly ahead of Mitchell McLeod. And McMullen there just about out of field. But we go back to this battle for 15th at the moment. Actually, we've got a good battle almost for 10th place at the moment. Jamie Knight has done a fantastic job at the moment to close in on the Rockstar livery car of Braden Bateman. And Brady Bateman cannot afford any kind of fuel drama across the start-finish line. We saw it affect one driver last week in Scott Larnack, but for Bateman, he has just a few more corners to hold off Jamie Knight, who has been on a complete charge in the last few laps. See how much more confident under brakes he is, but he's going to have 1 more corner to try and get a good exit. But it looks like Braden Bateman, if he doesn't do that, gets all kind of wheel spin on the exit. He will take position number 10. Scott Larnack is ahead of a big battle pack. He gets a big wiggle. He's lost a lot of momentum coming down the final straight, but he's going to hold it just ahead of Steve Jansen, who only narrowly beats Gary Cooper to the line. The return to this battle for position number 15.
Oh, mate, it's incredible.
He's up the inside and somehow managed to hold on to, for Job Stewart, a fantastic fight in the final few laps for these guys. He managed to hold off McMillan, and Craig Jones will take position number 17. And Brett Loxton did, in the end, get that move done on Adam Gardner. And Michael Taliantic almost got back into the battle pack as well, but he'll come home in 21st.
Job Stewart did a fantastic job on that last lap. We should get a replay of that, because McMillan fired it up the inside at the final chicane. Or was it the final chicane?
So we're actually going to get the entire last lap up on screen, so we'll try and sync it up for the replay. Just looking at these guys through turn number 1 at the moment, and Job Stewart, he had a lot of a margin through there, but these guys, Zach, take us through it. What a final lap for these guys.
Yeah, I'm just up at turn 3 here, coming through the chicane, and So we've got McMillan got a fairly poor run out of that section, but fired it up the inside, or just, you know, putting the nose in there, being very aggressive through the hairpin. Got a pretty average run out of there. All the while, Craig Jones just looking for the opportunity behind these guys. As they came down into this section here, Job lost a little bit of time. Thomas had a very, very good run coming through there, and this is where it all starts to get a bit dicey down here. Job gets a big moment down the hill, which can be easy to do in these cars, right behind him as they come up the hill here, and he gets a big, big tailfish coming out of there. Thomas fires it around the outside, and here's where Job makes a really nice move. He keeps it cool, he keeps it clean, he tucks it in under, perfect over under, and
good move.
Thomas just got a bit too much wheel spin there to really keep the move going, and then round the inside here, he tries to fire it up the inside, covers it off really, really nicely, almost contact there, as Job just holds it around the outside and manages to take the drag home. And that was for 15th place. I got to say, that was one of the best races for 15th place I've ever seen. That was a great little last lap battle there.
That was fantastic. We'll get the results up on screen now for you. And wow, that race was a little bit slow in the middle of the race, but it absolutely turned it on in the final few laps. And Jared Filsell will come away as your victor for this race, 10 seconds ahead of McMullen, who did have a bit of fuel dramas in the end as well. And Brady Myers manages to round out with a podium. McLeod and Harvey will be your top 5, with Cooper Webster, Brian Borg, Dane Warren, who ran into issues all race long, Greg Sharp and Brain Bateman round out your top 10.
Yeah, and very solid results as well by the following guys. Jay McKnight, Scott Larnack, Steve Jansen, Gary Cooper taking out 14th position there, with Job Stewart taking out that final top 15 position, followed by Thomas McMillan, who had a very up and down race, but very exciting nonetheless, followed by Craig Jones, who was getting stuck in there as well. Quiet race from Stephen Varga, and Brett Loxton obviously having issues earlier on, but he did manage to catch and pass Adam Gardner before the end of the race for P19. Adam Gardner obviously P20, Michael Taliancic in 21 after running out of fuel, and Matt Morris and Ross Rizzo are your only 2 DNFs in 22nd and 23rd.
Yep, so an absolutely fantastic race in the end. What a final lap we did have, with all those guys fighting tooth and nail against one another. But that's going to be it for us here from V8 Online. You can always catch us later in the week, of course, on Tuesday, the 23rd. We do have the Tristos Midget Shootout, so if you want to get your dirt fix for the week, we've got that covered for you on the 23rd. A fantastic cause as well, so we'll have that for you. On Thursday, we return to Rallycross. It's been exciting all season long, and we return, I believe, to Iowa on Thursday, so we'll see how that goes. And on Sunday, we have the return of the Oceanic Endurance Championship at Nürburgring. So it's been a bit of a long break between rounds for those guys, but they're going to be back once again for what I believe is the penultimate round of the championship. And then, of course, back on Monday, we'll be back for the Monday night official V8 Supercars. But from myself and Zach, thanks for watching. Goodbye.